Another week of Roman Reigns being champion, but not being champion outside the show. He just picks up the title as usual at the show, not carrying it around, picks it up like a baby at daycare. And then he walks out and then he realizes, hey, this is a replica. He looking at it real nice and tight, saying, hey, where are my side plates at? It doesn't matter. I won't take it home anyways. And then, Jacob Fatu and Roman Reigns have some words. Jey Uso looks like he's going to cry in the back. And that was it. So now he's a part of the Bloodline, or the part of the family business. And they attack Eric Andre because they got a Netflix film to promote with him and John Cena. And then that's it, really. We have a little commercial break, and then we get Io versus Raquel. Raquel would make the most sense since Liv Morgan is a champion, and they were teasing heavily Liv versus Raquel back in February. And then they forgot that they even teased a rivalry. So, yeah, Io wins for some reason, even though that doesn't really make much sense if Liv Morgan is the champion. But I don't think WWE still remembers that she's champion, considering they haven't had her defend her title in 2 months. And then after that, we get a cut to Liv Morgan backstage talking to Roxanne, who is supposed to be the prodigy, but loses as many matches as Rusev does, which is about 95% of their matches. And then she gets to Danhausen, and then Danhausen wants some human monies because Liv Morgan wants to curse Obafemi. And then, that's it. And then we get, I'm just going through the show because there's nothing to really run down here. Nothing at all. Yeah, nothing at all. So we get Alexa Bliss, usually as Charlotte's sidekick, unfortunately, even though she's super talented and more likable than Charlotte Flair's character. We have them making hearts and stuff for some reason with Byron Saxton. Nothing significant here. And then we have LA Knight as the conspiracy theorist. This usual same old stuff. Instead of having the push he deserves, he's just backstage making conspiracy theories like Sammy was back during the pandemic. And then that goes nowhere. He says he's going to do it his way, but then his way ends up being him on his back again. So then we have Chad Gable as Chad Gable for the first time in a year, talking to Jackie Redmond, and then he's talking about how he has a lot of people to apologize to before his match. So then he looks at Austin Theory and Maxine Dupree chopping it up, and then he walks out, gets Def Rebelled, and the crowd cheers for Chad Gable at first, and then they listen to his theme song, and then they get confused, and then they boo his theme song for a quick second, and then they just don't cheer. So yeah, Chad Gable's crowd response has been terminated with the quick downgrade of a theme song. They cheered Chad Gable at first. They saw him come out. He put his hands up, and then they got quiet because he got Def Rebelled. So then he has a match with Rusev. Rusev is a jobber as usual, so he taps out this time. So now, there's no redemption for Rusev. I mean, jobbing is another thing, but you can recover from that at some point. But yeah, the crowd said, you tapped out. So yeah, it's over. He's just like Gunther now. Whenever they want to try to rebrand this man later in the future, they're going to say, you tapped out. So yeah, Ethan Page gets him, and then they have nothing for Ethan Page, so they still have him running around with Rusev. Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee help him out due to, his year of trying to find his roots in Lucha Libre while disrespecting the culture. Jey Uso's backstage looking like he's going to cry in a segment with Roman and Jimmy. Yeah, and then you just got Jay in the corner looking like he's going to cry. And then LA Knight comes out, and then he falls asleep waiting for his push in the middle of the ring. And then he says that I'm home, and then they say, welcome home, welcome home, welcome home. And I bet that made Triple H fume. This dude's still getting crowd reactions. I spent 3 years trying to bury this man and trying to push Jay. So Jay comes out, and all of the supermarks and all of the people past 50 and all the little kids started chanting for Jay and yeeting. All the people who look like they don't watch wrestling. All the parents who just brought their kids along, all of the people with gray hair who haven't really watched wrestling in a while start yeeting. They just need something to do. So of course they're going to yeet. They got they spent $3 million just to be there. Of course they're going to say something. But anyways, this Jay Yeet thing is just Crazy. Report came out earlier in the day that apparently from WrestleVotes, and WrestleVotes is a very reliable source. They said that WWE and Triple H think that Jey Uso is a better wrestler than LA Knight. And then in his promo, Jey Uso looked at LA Knight and said, "I'm better than you. Acknowledge me." So yeah, they just doubled down on it. They doubled down on it. That's so sad. That is so sad. Triple H is making the same mistake. He hates LA Knight so much to the point where he's like, yeah, well, even though that Jey Uso experiment failed and I had to pull the plug, Jey Uso said that, you know, he gives bad performances. Rikishi said he gives bad performances. I said that he gives bad performances by putting him back with his brother when he was world champion because he kept failing and botching. I'm still going to, this dude is stubborn. He's going to go back to the same experiment that doubled down. The ratings were plummeting when Jey Uso was champion. And he's going to run it back out of spite. That is crazy. So yeah, after that, Jimmy super kicks LA Knight, and then LA Knight gets hit with the Tongan Death Grip, the same Tongan Death Grip that Roman Reigns got hit with a million weeks in a row. And then after they're exiting the ring, Jey Uso's tired. Jey Uso was the one who was getting beat down, and he's exhausted. And this is the same person Triple H is still trying to push as a main eventer. Bro is exhausted. He got gassed just exiting the ring, bro. This dude is trying to catch his breath. And everybody else is like, Jacob Fatu's walking, Jimmy's fine. Jey Uso's the only one exhausted. He looked like he ran a marathon, and he was the one getting beat up. This is what I'm talking about. Jey Uso got tired of getting out of the ring. And this is the person that they keep saying LA Knight is better, is inferior to. This is crazy. How the hell you get like look at this picture, bro? And I watched the show. Jey Uso was exhausted. He didn't even yeet either because the crowd was trying to get him to yeet because they're all, you know, trained SEALs and NPCs. Jey Uso didn't want to yeet. He was trying to be serious, Jay, and talk to LA Knight. And there's no excuse because usually he's exhausted after the yeeting. Dude didn't even yeet. He got beat up. He exited the ring. He walked to backstage and he's tired. Before he even gets up to the ramp, he's ringside. Gas. He's catching his breath already. That is crazy, man. That's crazy. We get a vignette, NXT Originals thing of them showing how terribly they've ruined Alexa Bliss, turning her into a sidekick for Charlotte Flair, having Alexa Bliss take every single pin and every single match. Yeah, and they showed the goddess Alexa. So they showed peak Alexa, and then they showed Alexa now. And it's like, wow, why would y'all show us that? Because now you're going to make us realize how terribly y'all been booking this woman on purpose since she's gotten back. So then we get a random exhibition match between Charlotte and Roxanne. I mean, it's not random, but it is random because there's no real story. The only story element that they try to rush here because they had nothing for the show was that, yeah, they said mean words to each other on Instagram or Twitter before the show started. So that's the storyline. That's not a storyline. And then we have Liv Morgan at that match as a manager, but she's champion because once you're champion, you just turn into either a manager or a catering warrior. So yeah, she's manager now. That's crazy. Imagine being world champion, but a manager who does nothing. Like that's honestly kind of sad. That should be Liv Morgan in that ring, defending that championship. But creative is failing her like crazy. Apparently, the justice system is failing Liv Morgan too. Apparently, yeah, her stalker got found not guilty. And then on top of that, her bump is still on her head from when Stephanie knocked her into Roxanne. It's unfortunate. But then Charlotte Flair wins. No one really cares because, you know, just random. And then we have Logan Paul coming back. Not wrestling, but just on the show, which is pretty cool. I give him credit for coming back, considering that his arm was like hanging on by a thread. And then we have him talking to Javon Evans, talking about how he's going to be a part of the Vision. And no, we're not asking, we're telling you. And then Javon is like, okay, well, I'm gonna take my shirt off, and we're gonna get a referee out here. So no story, just impromptu match, just for the hell of it, you know, just because none of these matches really have stories tonight. But then we get a cool spear. We get a cool spear catch. So that's cool. A catching spear. Javon was going for the OG cutter, and then he got hit with a spear. That's nice. That was the only good part about this whole thing. And then Angelo Dawkins looking like he's never looked before. Angelo Dawkins looks the best that he's ever had in his entire career. He looks fierce. He looks serious. He looks fit. Yeah, he definitely looks. Yeah, he's definitely been putting in the work for sure. So that's good for him. And then we get Jey Uso saying 4 letters, 4 letters, 4 letters, 4 letters. I'm glad that this was on the commercial break and I didn't pay for the top tier of Netflix because I would have seen the slop. And then we get Roman Reigns and Jacob talking, and Roman Reigns is asking, well, did you take care of it? Did you take care of LA Knight? But the only problem was there's a TV in Roman's locker room, so he saw everything go down. So this made no sense. Why are you asking him when you're watching the show? We get to the main event, and then it's just Obafemi, lawn chairing, Dirty Dom, and then the show ends, and that was it, really. I was expecting a bit more to happen after that because I wasn't looking at the clock because I wasn't watching the show live, so I thought something was going to happen, but then the show ended. So yeah, that was the end of the show. That was Raw this week. That was Raw this week. Yeah. Like just nothing really. That was crazy. Absolutely insane.